YouTube, I'm back with another video. First thing first, I want to say I appreciate all the love y'all are showing me, all the likes, all the comments, all the new subscribers. It's really motivating me right now. With that being said, if you're not new here, you know what I say. If you like the content, you know what to do. If you don't like the content, you know what to do. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Serial killer's face when cops show up 46 years later. The case of Carla Walker.
You, Mr. McCurley?
I am.
And Mr. McCurley?
He's in the back.
Mr. McCurley?
I ain't good. Yankton.
This is 77-year-old Glenn McCurley. He's suspected of having kidnapped and killed up to 7 women and girls in Fort Worth between 1967 and 1985. For almost 50 years, he has evaded the authorities and gotten away unscathed, and today is no different.
We'll be back, Mr. McCurley. You know we will.
The police have no motive, no evidence, and worst of all, no warrant. But when the system fails, it sometimes only takes one man to bring a case back to life.
Had a sister that could never get off my mind. It's easy to give up hope, but then you just realize you can't.
Jim Walker, the brother of one of his victims, has waited 46 years to get revenge for his sister's kidnapping, rape, and murder, and he refuses to wait any longer.
I used to sleep in the tunnel where her body had been found, hoping her killer would return to the scene of the crime, and I was going to take care of him right there.
Carla was 17 and I was...
But that's a different type of pain. To sleep where you know your daughter or your sister once was. To hope that he would come back. That's different.
12. I looked up to Carla. I thought she was beautiful. She was a good student. She was popular. Rodney McCoy was Carla's high school sweetheart. On that night, Carla and Rodney went out on their Valentine's date.
But this isn't just any date for 18-year-old Rodney McCoy. For months, he's been planning to give Carla something special, a promise ring.
It's a little rose with a diamond in the middle of it. It meant a lot to me. It meant, I'm here, I'm yours, and I promise you. She opened it up and I could see.
Wait, hold on. That is. Yeah, hit her with that riz. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, hit her with that riz.
The smile.
He knows Carla is the one, and with the ring, he promises to stand by her forever. With a smile, she accepts the ring. Soon after, they head to the school dance to celebrate with their friends.
Had a great time. Danced the whole night. I remember Carla and Rodney coming in. We were all dancing on the floor together.
After the dance, the couple leaves to find a place where they can be alone. But little do they know, their perfect night is about to be violently interrupted.
We started kissing, making
But it's
out,
finna get crazy.
doing what teenagers do. And when you open the door, we both our heads both fell out of the car, basically.
Rodney looks up and sees a dark silhouette holding a pistol in the open door. Before he can react, the stranger strikes him in the face with the butt of his gun.
I didn't even get a look at the guy's face. Finally, she said, stop hitting him, I'll go with you. He had put his hand inside the car and stuck the pistol about 3 or 4 inches from my face and started pulling the trigger.
Back at the Walker's house, Carla's little brother Jim is sleeping on the couch in the living room when the sound of screeching tires suddenly wakes him up.
I heard a car hitting a curb, and then I heard Rodney's voice outside yelling, "Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker."
The 12-year-old runs outside and sees his sister's boyfriend stumbling across the front lawn. He's covered in blood. The passenger side of his car is empty. Carla is nowhere to be found. The family rushes out to meet Rodney. The 18-year-old is frantic and out of breath, but he tries to explain what happened.
She was stolen. And
First of all, my nigga was a stud back in the day. Second of all, Detective CMF, CuhMyFault. You feel me? So clearly this has to be somebody that wanted her, right? Unless when he gets to the house and they say if he says the dad's not there, as crazy as it sounds, it could be the dad. Say if the dad doesn't like him back then, maybe he's trying to, but that's just a crazy scenario. And I doubt that's the case. But as of right now, suspect number 1, somebody that likes her.
Police, FBI aid, back to the case of Carla. The next morning, police, FBI agents, and sheriff staff arrive at the Walkers' home to set up the search effort. Rodney is their sole suspect. Everyone, from Carla's
Makes sense.
classmates to the Walkers' neighbors, is convinced Rodney is involved in her disappearance. Everyone, except the Walkers.
I knew that Rodney was being talked to a whole lot by law enforcement. From the time Rodney came back from the hospital here in Fort Worth after the assault, Rodney stayed at our house. He stayed upstairs, slept in Carla's bed. That's how much we loved him and how much he loved us.
After 3 days of unsuccessful searching,
It's not Rodney.
one of the detectives remembers a case from a year before. Becky Martin, a missing girl around Carla's age, had been discovered inside a cattle culvert on the outskirts of Fort Worth. On that hunch, the search party, along with the Walkers, focused their efforts on the underground tunnels scattered across the countryside, when suddenly, their search takes a turn for the worse.
Mom and Dad went in there, and Dad, I heard Mom scream, you know, and it's that death scream.
Carla's brutal murder shakes Fort Worth. The whole town grieves the loss of the young girl. At the funeral, over 1,000 members of the community gather to pay their respects to Carla. Rodney attends with the family, but a heavy cloud of suspicion looms over him.
It's just crazy how, like, people for no reason do crazy shit. Like, a random person will go shoot up a school, or same way that one person went up, it was like some black store, I can't remember where, I think it was up north. Like, dude just went up and shot up the fucking store for no reason. And it's like, bro, like, what drives you to do shit like this? Like, you don't even know these people. You just it's just so wild. As a normal nigga that thinks normal, it's hard for me to put my brain into a position to think like that. And I consider myself a well-rounded person. I can see both sides of an argument and have a common ground with somebody. You feel me? But shit like this, bro, is just so irrational that you really can't okay it. Like, there's no way to see eye to eye with some nigga that think like this, bro. There's no way.
Faces the judgmental looks of his classmates, their parents, and everyone else in attendance. In spite of this, Rodney gathers the courage to walk over to Carla's casket. As he looks at her for one last time, something catches his eye. The promise ring he gave her is nowhere to be found. The night she was taken flashes before his eyes, and Rodney breaks down.
Kind of collapsed to my knees. And Cindy was holding on to me. We were both crying, and you feel your heart just drop. And that's when it's over.
This will be his last day sleeping in Carla's bed at the Walkers. Right after graduation, Rodney moves to Alaska to work in an oil rig, never to return to Fort Worth.
Carla saved my life. I wish it would have been the other way around. And for so many years,
Clearly he's not in jail, so I don't think it's him. Plus, I didn't think it was him to begin with. But with that also being said, I could see how people would be like, it was him. Nigga, you graduate and move to a complete different state and never come back. It looks bad, bro. But then again, it's also like, nigga, my girlfriend just got took, and who knows what happened, but we know what ended up happening. You feel me? And with that being said, when I'm here, I think of that. I don't want to be here. So I move away and try to start a new life. Understandable. So I go both ways. And that's what I said. Well-rounded. Well-rounded.
many years, my thoughts were how terrified and how scared Carla was that night. That's been with me forever.
With Rodney's departure, Jim feels even more isolated. Everybody around him is consumed by grief, but the 12-year-old only feels anger. It becomes an obsession. He wants revenge for what happened to Carla.
At the time, I used to sleep in the culvert where her body had been found, hoping her killer would return to the scene of the crime, and I was going to take care of him right there.
See, and I wanted to see it. I wanted to know if my sister was still alive when she went into that place, what she saw, what she smelled, how it felt. It was cold, but I just wanted to experience that.
Neither Jim nor the police ever catch a glimpse of the killer. but he refuses to give up. He's convinced he can solve the case himself and applies to the police academy as soon as he's old enough. He's accepted, but something goes wrong during one of his exams. His vision is blurry, and it's only getting worse. Jim is eventually diagnosed with a rare genetic condition that throws a wrench in his future as a detective. He's going blind.
Part of my life experience has led me to
No way.
living with legal blindness. Prognosis is irreversible, and that it will probably only get worse.
No shot.
With Jim's career in law enforcement cut short, he begins to lose all hope of ever bringing his sister's killer to justice. All of his siblings eventually leave Fort Worth. Years turn into decades. Come 2020, Jim is the only walker left in Fort Worth.
It was a very dark time. My marriage was on the rocks. My dad had died. I know in his heart, he felt like he let his beautiful daughter down by not getting justice for her. By the time Mom died, I think she also too died of a broken heart.
With everyone around him gone, Jim's drive to find Carla's killer becomes stronger. Every year, he does the only thing he can do: call the Fort Worth police and try to convince whoever's in charge of their cold case department to reopen his sister's case.
I asked us, how many cold cases do you have? And she said, we have 971 unsolved murders. I said, man, my heart bleeds for all 971 of those families. But right now, I only care about one case. I said, whoever did this is either dead, dying, we're running out of daylight. And I said to her, I want the truth.
At the other end of the line is Fort Worth Police Department's new cold case investigator, Detective Leah Wagner.
When I saw what had happened to this young girl, the mother in me obviously, screams out, hey, this could be your child, and that you really need to do something.
Thanks to Jim's call, Wagner decides to reopen Carla's case. After 46 years of frustration and setbacks, hope is renewed. Jim has spent his entire life looking for a way to get justice for his sister, and now, with a new expert finally willing to work the case, he's ready to do whatever it takes to help.
Had a sister that could never get off my...
And I'm not trying to say that, like, if shit happens, you don't want it to come to an end. At this point, like, you kind of just got to move on. Like, you let this one thing consume the entirety of your life. Not saying that you're not going to think about it, you feel me? But I'm saying to sit and fixate on it is unhealthy. Because my nigga was in high, he was like 12, 13, I think they said, when it happened. Clearly, he's grown as hell. He grown as fucking hell. And with that being said, you the only person still in the state in your family, like, da-da-da-da-da.
My mind. It's easy to give up hope, but then you just realize you can't give up hope. That's all you got is hope. Every day's a new day.
And that's sad.
First, Wagner goes over the events of Carla's abduction on the night of the 1974 Valentine's Day dance. After the attacker struck Rodney on the head with the butt of his gun, his weapon jammed. As Rodney began to lose consciousness, the attacker started clearing his pistol. Realizing that the man was preparing to shoot Rodney, Carla stepped up, saying she'd go with him if he stopped hurting Rodney.
She was doing what she thought she needed to do to make sure Rodney did not get shot. So I think she sacrificed herself.
I see Carla's face, and she screams, "Rodney, go get my dad." I was terrified, and that's the last word I heard her say. That's the last time I saw her. I went out face first in the seat.
Even though they didn't solve the case back in 1974, the police still did their due diligence and collected every piece of evidence, including a full pistol magazine, Carla's torn dress and clothing, and a final clue that, to them, implicated Rodney, the promise ring. For reasons no one could explain, it had been pulled off her finger and left in the culvert next to her body.
And to this day, we don't know.
That's not good. You telling me, but it's fucking me up. Because he mentioned it earlier, and normally that's what a guilty person does. They beat you to the punch. If I know I did something, I'm going to mention it and say I didn't do it before you say that I did do it, so that way I don't look as guilty. You see what I'm saying? That's just the way it works. So it's like, with that being said,
How that ended up there, if it was purposely taken or if it was removed in a struggle.
No matter what happened with the ring, Wagner refuses to fall into the same trap as past investigators. She is determined to find who actually killed Carla and exonerate Rodney, who has been living in exile after the backlash he endured as a suspect back in 1974. The detective knows how new DNA technologies can reignite cold cases and hopes Carla's case will be no different. All she needs is a sufficient amount of DNA.
I really felt compelled to help this family in any way that I could. We went through every single piece of paper in those boxes. We knew that in 2009 we had some DNA come off the dress. So we fully believed that there was more. There had to be more. There was a single source, full male profile obtained off of Carla's bra. We were thrilled. We have something now that we can actually put into CODIS.
Yet two things block her progress. First, at 5 nanograms, the sample is by far the smallest the detective has ever had to work with. Any and all manipulation carries a high risk of destroying the fragile genetic material. And second, the partial profile they identified doesn't match any of the criminals already registered in the database.
And it's really only enough to exclude individuals. And so it's more of a working lead than it is something to clinch a suspect.
So from what I'm getting from that, if they think somebody did it, they come in, get a DNA test, compare it to, that's how they can tell if it worked or not. Other than that, they're not able to detect who it was from the actual DNA that they have.
So we had something to work with, we just didn't have enough.
But Detective Wagner knows of a way to get more. A private laboratory south of Houston has developed a new technology to identify suspects using only small amounts of DNA. This technique would use up the entire remaining sample, and success isn't guaranteed. But Leah and Jim are willing to take that risk to get answers.
We still had hope because we believed that there was somebody out there and we were definitely going to find out who it was.
The gamble pays off. With the new DNA profile, Detective Wagner finally has a name, Glenn McCurley. She recognizes it right away as suspect number 22 from the 1974 investigation. Back then, police questioned every local owner of registered Ruger pistols after a loaded clip was found at the scene of the abduction. McCurley was one of them. He even took a polygraph and passed. But DNA doesn't lie.
We researched where he was currently residing, and it happened to still be in Fort Worth.
So with that being said, when was this case? This was when? This was put out 3 days ago. They said he took a polygraph test, and I know it was way back when, but he took it and passed. With that being said, bro, polygraph tests should not ever be trusted. Like, you shouldn't be able to use that in the court of law at all. If a nigga can take it and pass it, come on.
Only a couple miles away from the bowling alley. And so what we decided to do was have an officer go out there and talk with the residents of the house.
You, Miss McCurley?
I am.
Mr. McCurley?
He's in the back.
He reacts jokingly at first.
Mr. McCurley?
I ain't doing anything.
But his tone shifts once Wagner starts asking questions.
Back in 1974, there was a young lady that got kidnapped from the bowling alley. We're re-interviewing everybody that was in the case, and we had seen at one point they talked to Mr. McCurley.
I told him about the same story I told you. I said, well, you sure got the wrong fella, because I ain't never killed nobody.
In order for us to eliminate you, the quickest way to do that is to get your DNA.
Well, I think they've already gone through all that.
But Glenn McCurley's wife, Judy, isn't about to let her husband lie to the detective.
They didn't even do that back then. DNA testing is a new thing, honey.
And when he starts trying to build an alibi for the night Carla was taken and for the days that followed, his wife cuts in again, correcting him.
Yeah, I was with her part of the time.
That's not true, Glenn. No, I'd gone to Midland. My daddy, my parents still lived in Midland.
McCurley has the right to refuse Wagner's request, but the detective won't let that deter her. When night falls...
So, now I got another question. With him being that old, realistically, he should have some type of medical records. Now, I would assume it's not legal for them to disclose said medical records. However, in a murder case, I feel like that should be accessible information just to be able to rule him out if he didn't do it. But then again, like I said, that kind of defeats the whole legality purposes of them being able to do that. Because, nigga, you do that, I'm suing the fuck out you. Yeah, there's no way.
She sends officers to dig through the suspect's trash for anything that might have his DNA on it. They recover a plastic McDonald's straw. They're able to match it to the original sample and get a warrant for his arrest. On September 21st, 2020, he's taken into custody. During the ensuing interrogation, McCurley finally cracks.
I've never seen her, never met her, never talked to her. I wouldn't know her if she was standing beside of me.
Your DNA was on her body. It is evidence that does not lie. What we're saying, Mr. McCurley, is that your DNA was found on Carla Walker. Okay? So there's no question about it. Can you tell us what happened?
How did you kill her?
4 decades later. 2 centuries. Wait. Fuck it.
I just choked her.
Oh, now you switched up.
You've been holding on to that for a long time.
I can remember Detective Wagner saying, "We got him." I cried, and then I called Rodney. I said, "We got him." And there was a pause, and Rodney said, "Got him?" And I said, "Yep, we got him, buddy. We know who did this to you and Carla." And Rodney started crying.
Later during the interview, Detective Wagner asks McCurley where he left Carla's body. He starts giving directions, insisting it was beside a building, but this isn't where Carla was found. This raises red flags for the detectives. She may not be the killer's only victim. When they try to push him for answers, the 77-year-old suspect completely shuts down, leaving Wagner with nothing. For Jim, the feeling of defeat is familiar. He's lived with it for decades, but he's not a 12-year-old boy anymore. In the years since Carla was taken, anger has been keeping him moving, but now, sitting this close to the truth, he knows he isn't here for revenge, but for answers and for peace.
I know this might be hard to believe, but it's true. I feel compassion and forgiveness. I do. And by me having compassion and forgiveness in my heart, evil has no control over my spirit.
Jim has had Carla on his mind for a long time, but the thought that McCurley might have been a serial killer all along has never escaped his or Detective Wagner's minds. Since Carla's murder, several women and girls have been abducted and killed around Valentine's Day in the Fort Worth area, each of their cases remaining unsolved to this day. And another family is now also painfully aware of these facts, the McCurleys. A few days before the trial, Roddy McCurley, the killer's own son, tries desperately to get answers from his father.
If there were other crimes, I wanted him to give those families some peace and confess to those things. I thought if there was anybody that could open his eyes and soften his heart, it would be me, because I know he loves me. When I looked into my dad's eyes, I saw nothing. He was completely closed off. But if he loves me at all, if he has any love for me at all, he would take that overwhelming weight off of me. That's what I want.
Bro, as dark as it is, there's definitely more. Because like he just said, if he said that it was in one place, but it was found somewhere else, that alone is a red flag. And there's multiple unsolved cases in the same area around this. Like, come on, bro, this nigga did this shit.
I want that peace.
He did that shit.
A murder trial 47 years in the making begins in a Tarrant County courtroom. Carla Walker was...
On August 19th, 2021, Glenn McCurley's murder trial begins. From his seat, Jim notices the heavy silence that follows Rodney's testimony, who has returned to Fort Worth to tell his story. He's also aware of the McCurley family nearby, and even though he can't see them, he knows the weight they're carrying. Jim has lived with Carla's murder for 46 years. For the McCurleys, this is all happening in real time. And despite everything he has been through, Jim knows he needs to do something. After one of the days in trial, he approaches their son, Roddy.
His heart was broken, his soul was broken, I could tell.
His world had been completely devastated. And I said, Roddy, I said, I'm Jim Walker. How are you? He just couldn't even talk. I said, can I give you a hug, buddy? And we hugged. I said, hey, you're not responsible for the sins of your father. You do not own this.
That is a good fucking dude, bro. No other way to put it. Good fucking dude. Because a lot of people have been ready to turn up, rip his head off, and do what should have been done to the dad to him.
This is not your responsibility.
Yeah, meeting Jim was a pretty special moment in my life. He was comforting me. And I think that surprised me. When he could have done the exact opposite, but here he is, someone that was victimized by my father. He was comforting me.
Yeah.
I realized Roddy was a victim, you know.
He saw someone in a dark, desperate place and said, I'm gonna give that person love.
The next day, Jim and Rodney sit next to the McCurleys. Together, all the victims and survivors form a united front. Roddy locks eyes with his father as the judge asks everyone to sit down. At that moment, something shifts in Glenn McCurley. He quietly says a few words to his attorney, who then walks straight to the judge, and the court is immediately adjourned.
After almost half a century, think about that. Time and evidence caught up with a killer today. The cold case mystery of who killed teenager Carla Walker in Fort Worth ended, and it happened suddenly. Here's our Jason Allen.
Before a third day of testimony in his murder trial could even start Tuesday, Glenn McCurley stopped it. He changed his plea to guilty for killing 17-year-old Carla Walker in 1974. Judge Elizabeth Beach immediately sent him to prison for life, and families finally let emotions show in the courtroom.
This was a lot of healing going on there today for not just me and my family, but our whole community.
He hung a cloud of suspicion on me for all those years. I mean, that's torment.
To mark the end of the case and Rodney's return to Fort Worth, Jim and Wagner prepare a surprise for him. They return something he lost 46 years ago.
Rodney, on behalf of the Fort Worth Police Department and the Walker family, we'd like to give you back Carla's ring, so you can have a piece of it.
Peace, that's what that does?
I'm indebted to them forever.
That should have made me cry, but I don't know how that's
for me is pretty amazing.
Wow, so much. I remember exactly.
So unexpected. That was so heartfelt. I got a little piece of my heart back, and it just means so much to me.
Today, Jim remains close friends with not only Wagner and Rodney.
That's a great video. I mean, not great in the aspect of like what happened, but in the aspect of what happened and how it ended, if that makes sense. Because like personally, I just couldn't wrap my brain around the fact that like if somebody that I don't know took somebody that I loved away from me, I wouldn't want to befriend their son or their whoever. Like I don't think I could have that in my heart. But he said that he held no grudge. But if you like the content, you know what to do. If you don't like the content, you know what to do. But if you made it this far, I think you like the content. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that like button. And I'll be back with another one.